Yo, 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 welcome in, Magic players, much love. Story time today. I'm going to tell you about my Pro Tour Amsterdam experience in 2010. My first day, or my first time in Europe. This was really fun, a life experience, and it can give you an idea of what it's like going to the Pro Tour, if that's something that you dream about, or go about, or just want to know what it's like. So, this was my third or maybe my fourth Pro Tour. I was actually qualified for this one on rating because I did fairly well at Pro Tour San Juan and Grand Prix Oakland and Grand Prix Houston. I was on a hot streak. I was on a run, so I was qualified on rating. However, when you're queued on rating, is this my shirt on backwards? It is. When you're queued on rating, they don't pay for your plane ticket. And at the time, I was in college, university. It was the summer. I was working part-time. And I was on my own to fund this trip. So I needed to buy the plane ticket. The prices are only going up, and I remember this. This is a story that I will remember for a long time outside of Magic, or it's worth telling because the price of the plane ticket to Amsterdam was $853 for a round trip. And in order to fund that, in the short term, I had to sell my Magic collection. Okay, but that only got me to $852. So, I literally, this is a real thing that happened, drove to a friend's house and borrowed $1. And we went to the bank together and deposited the $1. And I don't have that receipt anymore, but it said $1. And I went online, I bought the plane ticket, bank account down to zero, but I was flying to Europe, I was playing in the Pro Tour, and it was an opportunity to meet the top people in my field and get coverage. It was worth doing, so I had $0 in my bank account. But obviously I gotta pay for housing and stuff, so I was working as a kind of faux security guard, yellow jacket, landmark security, and that is how I funded that. So for this tournament, it was extended, and this was my first opportunity to play with the living end on the Pro Tour. So obviously I was going to do that because this was my baby, my creation. I wanted to sport it at the Pro Tour. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, my preparation was not great for this event. I didn't necessarily have a good team or network around me. I didn't have a Magic mastermind or anything like that. So I ended up playing with a subpar version of Living End. I had main deck ley lines, and I had 5/1 Igneous Pouncers when a bunch of people had Burn, Punishing Fires, so my list was not so great. But that's skipping ahead. So as for my preparation, I worked online as usual, but this was a tricky situation because this was the first time I had an opportunity to work with the Channel Fireball team. But my original Magic mentor, or most important mentor, Mike Thompson, was qualified. This is a guy who helped me and my brother get better when we were like 14, 15. And it's like, alright, finally going to the Pro Tour with my mentor, and there's some other random people. Magic mentor, right? But I have the opportunity to test with Channel Fireball. I don't necessarily have both, so I dropped by Channel Fireball with the guys, but I pretty much stuck with the Seattle people. I knew them longer. Do I regret? Do I not? I am comfortable with that choice. That was what I did what I did, and it was a fun time. So for this trip, I was only in Europe for 5 days, 3 days for the tournament. I came in the day before and left the day after. Couldn't afford to stay longer, otherwise I would have. Tournament itself was interesting. I started off, I guess, playing a bit loose, and my poor build caught up with me. I was going to do a deck tech on Living End with BDM, but my record with Living End was 2-3, which is not very good, and I didn't really want to be on camera and say, yo, I'm 2-3 and this is my deck. I would rather just not be on camera, so I didn't hunt him down. So back then, you have to be 5-3 to make the second day, so it's like, man, we're going into the second draft. Only one of us is making it to day 2 of the 8 of us. But people freak out at Pro Tour drafts. People freak out. Things are just open. So it was M10 M10 or like M9, I don't know, some limited, and I just had the most insane blue-red deck ever. And here's one way to draft, which here's a magic tip if you're here for the magic tips. If you draft the most abundantly open color in the first and the third packs, a lot is going to flow through and the people downstream are going to play those colors. So if you identify what did I not see anything of in pack 1 and 3, and first pick, second pick, third pick in that color in the second pack, you can get the best cards in that secondary color. So this way you draft mono blue pack 1, mono red pack 2, mono blue pack 3. This is the strategy I utilized. I ended up going 3-0 in the first draft and 2-1 in the second draft for a 5-1 draft record. And it was cool. I remember going to LSV before the draft started, and I asked him about one of the picks, and he gave me some kind of feedback of some sort. But I remember that. Yeah, and then eventually finished off. I played against Shuhei Nakamura. I played against Rafael Levy. I played against some other pros, and that was cool. I finished 9-7, which is my Pro Tour median finish, which is good, but you know, I never top 8'd or you know, didn't live that dream, but it was cool experience. And those are my main memories from it, you know, is travel the world, play the game, see the convention centers. They say play the game, see the world or something. Play the game, see the convention centers. This is what later on made me really want. When I was into Europe for the second time, I was like, all right, I'm going to figure out how to stay here for months, because it's such a pain to travel all the way out here and spend this money. If I can figure out a way to stay, I'm going to do it. So fast forward 5 years to Pro Tour Valencia, and I ended up staying in Europe for 5 months, and that was a crazy time. But the reason that I did that is because in Amsterdam I was like, man, I came all the way out here. Also, the Amsterdam thing, it was a good experience, but it was also discouraging because it was like, man, I went down to $0 in the bank account and I finished just outside of the money. And man, so later on I told this other story about going to Pro Tour, the World Championships in Japan, and that was a year and a half later. I was qualified and I didn't go because I would have to borrow money, and I was like, nah, it's like Amsterdam but going in debt. I'm not going to do it. But I would go back and I would do that again. If you have an opportunity to play on the Pro Tour, in the World Championships, if anything, it's a bucket list thing. Just cross it off. Just do it if you can. So, and if not, whatever. So that's my Amsterdam story. It was an interesting, magical thing, and I had Zane Beg there. There's some other guys. It was a cool time, but the most memorable part of it is that I borrowed $1 and deposited it in the bank and went down to $0 in the bank account to travel to Europe to play with professionals and meet professionals, and it was worth it. I would do that again. So not in 2016, but in 2010 I would. So let me know, what do you think? Was that a fun story? Did you like that story? Leave me a comment below. You want to hear more stories? I've got maybe another 4 Pro Tours I haven't talked about, so I can do that. Peace, much love.